Greetings, Pokey fans! Michael here, and in today's video, I'm gonna be talking about some aspects of Pokemon Sword and Shield that, well, I think need to be improved in future Pokemon games. Now, while the overall focus of this video is going to be more negative in nature, I want to make it clear that I do not think Sword and Shield are bad games. I think they're fantastic games, and I've had a ton of fun playing them. I continue to play my copy of Sword pretty much every single day, and I highly recommend them to anyone who has ever enjoyed Pokemon. With that being said though, I don't think the games are perfect, and there are some aspects of them that I think could and should be improved. So today I'm gonna be covering 5 of those problems in no particular order. The first problem is both a problem and also a PSA for all of you guys, because I feel like a lot of players don't know about this, so that's why I'm talking about it first. That being number 1, the bugged shiny odds. Not long after Sword and Shield released, an article was posted to the official Pokemon site talking about how you can increase your chances of getting both brilliant Pokemon and shiny Pokemon. If you didn't know, brilliant Pokemon is the official term for those Pokemon with yellow auras around them, which have better IVs, might have egg moves, and give you watts upon capturing or defeating them. In that article, it displays a table explaining how you can increase your chances of a brilliant Pokemon or shiny Pokemon of a specific species by increasing its number battled. You increase that number battled by either capturing or defeating Pokemon of that specific species. Running away from them or breeding them doesn't increase the number. All seems fine and dandy, right? Well, there's one glaring problem. The article is a lie. People who have analyzed the code of Sword and Shield have discovered that the increased rates for brilliant Pokemon are indeed accurate, but the increased rates for shiny Pokemon are not. Well, they sort of are. The increased rates are accurate, but they only increase the rates at best 3% of the time. Assuming I did my math correctly and assuming you have the shiny charm, prior to battling any of a certain species of Pokemon, your shiny rate is 1 in 1,365, approximately. After you have defeated 500 of that certain species, your shiny rate increases to an impressive 1 in 1,300, which clearly is barely better. And it is certainly not 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 times better as the article says they would be. Well, they are that much better, but only 3% of the time. Now, to be fair to the developers, this is not believed to be intentional. Those who have analyzed the code of the game seem to believe that this was just an oversight during development caused by the added layer of complexity of also increasing brilliant Pokemon odds at the same time. However, the effects are still there, and as of right now, to my knowledge, this bug has not been acknowledged by any of the official outlets for Pokemon. It's honestly really bad that they haven't acknowledged it and so far have given no indication that they're going to fix it, because right now, that article and also the official guidebook are lying to the Pokemon fandom. Maybe not intentionally, but it's spreading misinformation. They absolutely have to patch this error ASAP because a lot of people are probably still wasting a ton of time shiny hunting using this bugged method. Until they do patch it, if they ever do, you should definitely Masuda method breed for the fastest shinies possible. Speaking of Masuda method, that brings me to my next problem, number 2, the removal of mass releasing. In Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, you were able to mass release up to 50 Pokemon at a time. This feature was pretty much necessary in these games because you couldn't gain any experience from any wild Pokemon unless you caught them, so you ended up catching a ton of Pokemon. However, this feature was not carried over to Sword and Shield. I guess they just assumed that since you don't have to catch wild Pokemon to gain experience from them, people would not be catching as large a number of Pokemon and therefore would be less likely to run out of room. However, as someone who catches every max raid boss they fight and also does Masuda method breeding for shinies, which generates a ton of Pokemon, this is a feature I really freaking miss. It takes a ton of time for me to go through every non-shiny Pokemon and release them one by one. There are several inputs required to release just one Pokemon, and it's a very tedious and slow process. However, it has to be done because otherwise I will run out of space since Pokemon Home hasn't been released yet. Myself and anyone else who does a lot of Pokemon breeding definitely really misses this feature because it saved a ton of time. They absolutely need to bring this back in the future, whether the game is a Let's Go style game or not. The next problem I have is number 3, the Y-Comm. It's the method of communicating with other players, excluding the ranked and casual battles in the battle stadium. And it needs some work. Some aspects of it work perfectly fine, specifically surprise trading. I have had no issues with that feature whatsoever, works perfectly great. But there are some big issues with it. First off, there's no way to specifically interact with a specific friend. There's no way like in the PSS back in Gen 6 where you could just click on their face and be like, hey, send trade request, send friend request. That option just isn't there. In order to link up with someone specifically, you have to communicate with them outside of the game and set a link code. You then both input the same link code and hope that no one else put in the same thing at the same time and you end up in a trade with some random person, which has happened to me. It's really annoying that there's no way to ensure that your trade or battle request is going to the exact person you want it to. Additionally, seeking for help with a max raid is pretty flawed. The first aspect of this is that if you are not Switch friends with someone and they seek for help on a raid, if you're not sitting right next to them using local wireless, that raid is probably never popping up. Now, I do understand why they do this, because otherwise you'd have an infinite amount of requests for help coming through your feed, but it's still somewhat annoying. But that's definitely one of the more minor issues with the seeking for help thing, because I see why it's necessary. There are 2 other aspects of it that I frankly think are unacceptable. The first one is that the refresh rate for the seeking stamps is way too slow. How many times have you seen a stamp seeking for help on a raid that looks really cool that you want to join, and you click on it, try to join, and it's like, oh, no communication partner, or oh, the entry for entering is over and stuff like that. That sucks. And then you back out of it, and the stamp is still there. It's still showing an option to join it when you just tried and failed. Also, how many times have you filtered for just seeking for help stamps, and it just tells you there are none? What? No. There is no way, there is no one on the entire planet seeking for help in a max raid at any given moment. The games have sold extremely well. Yeah, maybe no Switch friends are seeking for help at that moment, but it shows you raids of people who are not your Switch friends. There should literally always be seeking stamps in the Y-Comm, and the fact that you can search and there not be any is absurd and freaking impossible. There's always someone searching. And as a third issue with the Y-Comm, there's no GTS. Like, what? Why did they remove the GTS? That was great. It helped a lot with Pokedex completion. I don't understand why they removed that. I know there was a problem with people requesting various Pokemon that are just impossible, like a level 2 Reshiram and stupid stuff like that, but I feel like they definitely could have coded in a way to prevent people from requesting impossible Pokemon. I don't know, I just think it's silly that they got rid of it. I think most Pokemon fans would agree with me that if we could just go back to the PSS from Gen 6, just with higher res graphics, that would be pretty nice. The next problem I have is number 4, the game lagging. Now, thankfully, there's not a whole lot of instances of this like there was in Gen 7. Basically, if you entered into any double battle, the game was gonna lag. It was really annoying, and Gen 8 doesn't really have that problem. I've seen very, very few instances of the game lagging during a battle, even with giant Dynamax models. However, the wild area has quite a severe lag problem, with dropped frames, slow response to input, and just slow movement in general. Now, this lag only really seems to occur when you're connected to the internet, but that's a problem because the wild area is the location where you are most encouraged to be connected to the internet because you can see other players and join their camps and seek for help on raid battles in your wild area and stuff like that. The wild area lag is also the reason that when I'm breeding Pokemon, I do it on Route 5. A lot of times I like to be connected to the internet while I'm hatching eggs so I can maybe hop in on some surprise trades or raids or something like that. But if I want to be connected to the internet and breed at the wild area nursery, it lags like crazy and it's really annoying. But as of now, if you want to be connected to the internet while going through the wild area, you're just gonna have to stomach that it's gonna lag. Now, to be fair, it's not game breaking, it's not unplayable, but it certainly is annoying, and I really hope they optimize the games better with later Pokemon games. And the final problem I wanted to discuss in this video is number 5, the lack of new post-game areas. I think it's fair to say that every Pokemon player enjoys getting access to new game areas after they've defeated the Pokemon League. It's just fun to have your world expand like that and get to check out some new places with even more powerful Pokemon than before. The Johto, Sinnoh, Unova, and Alola games have new post-game areas for you to explore after you've defeated the League. And I think that's great, especially Johto. It gives you an entire new region to explore. But Sword and Shield fall into the same pitfall that the Hoenn, Kalos, and non-Fire Red and Leaf Green Kanto games do, where they don't give you anything new after you've beaten the League. The region you've seen up to that point is the region you get. Okay, that's actually not completely true for the old games. They all gave you at least one new location to check out. Hoenn gave you the Battle Tower / Battle Frontier / Battle Resort, Kalos gave you Kyloud City, and Kanto gave you Cerulean Cave. Sword and Shield are actually worse than that, because there is not even one new location that you can find after beating Leon for the first time that you did not have access to before beating Leon. Literally, not a one single inch of a location that you couldn't get to before that you can now. You have access to the whole region before beating Leon. This is a big step backwards for the franchise. It's of course not game breaking because this only impacts the game after you have beaten the game, and there's still a lot of fun stuff to do throughout the region, particularly in the wild area. However, I still think it sucks that you just beat the game and there's nowhere new to check out. The post-game story just takes you back to places that you've already been. There's nowhere new. Obviously, a fix for this would be adding new post-game areas to check out after you beat the game. The Sinnoh remakes will likely have the same post-game areas that they did before, so that'll be nice. But if they do any sort of Sword and Shield sequel or enhanced version, I really hope they add some new areas to check out. Maybe even we'll go to Kalos after beating the game for the first time. That's probably dreaming too high, but it would be dope. So that wraps up 5 problems that I had with Pokemon Sword and Shield. Just a reminder, I love these games. I think they're fantastic, but they're not perfect. These are just some minor things that I think could be improved in future titles. Also, I should let you guys know this is my last video here on the main channel prior to Christmas, so happy holidays to all of you guys, and the next video here on this channel will be up on December 28th. Thanks so much for watching, and an extra special thanks to my patrons over on Patreon who are helping support me in a way independent of the fluctuating YouTube ad revenue. If you want to support me in the same way and get some cool perks in exchange, the link is in the description below. Also, if you want to check out my Pokemon Sword Let's Play on my second channel, you should check that out right here. And if you want to watch some more Pokemon videos here on this channel, I recommend this one right here. All right, that's all I have for now. So till next time, Pokefans, gotta catch them all.